We've all been there. It's 4 p.m. You're sitting staring at an empty Word document. The outside window beckons to you, that leftover slice of pizza in the fridge is starting to sound really good, and your phone is lighting up like a Christmas tree. Suddenly, it's midnight, and that essay due tomorrow on the fall of Rome is looking more like the title of Taylor Swift's hit Blank Space. Although, now it's due today. Oh my God, it's due today. Panic, panic. After a minor anxiety attack, you decide your only coping mechanism is to go to bed and hope the deadline disappears along with your consciousness. When your alarm goes off at 3 a.m., you drag yourself out of bed and start typing the first words that come to your groggy mind, which resemble a scrambled children's dictionary. And when you turn it in at 8 a.m., your professor seems concerned that you've gotten mono, been bitten by a zombie, or both. If this sounds familiar to you, you might be a procrastinator. We've all experienced procrastination in our lives, whether seeing our roommate go through something similar to what I just described or going through it ourselves. However, this procrastination nation might not be such a bad thing if we use it to our advantage. Now, it's a common belief that procrastination has arisen recently with the internet and all its distractions it offers, but procrastination has actually been around for a very long time. Pop quiz. What do Leonardo da Vinci, Victor Hugo, and Ernest Hemingway have in common? You got it. They all struggle with procrastination. Victor Hugo would be so distracted by the great outdoors that he was known for asking his servants to remove all clothing from the premises of his home, so he was not tempted to go outside while trying to write. Ernest Hemingway was constantly distracted by his many famous guests, so he would often take his boat for hours out to a bay so he could write in the peace and quiet of nature. Leonardo da Vinci took 16 years to finish his work on the painting The Mona Lisa. Not because it's a great artwork, which it is, but because he would get distracted doodling. Of course, Leonardo da Vinci's version of doodling was designing helicopters, dams, and bridges that were centuries ahead of his time, but you get the picture. But the procrastination has actually been around long before these famous men. Scientists assume that the procrastination that we have come to know today first emerged at the diversion of labor, when humans formed small communities where everyone was given a specific task that wasn't necessarily important for the short-term survival of our species. The first procrastination tactics were thought to be board games and village gossip, with board games arriving in the year 3500 BC at the latest. So procrastination has been around for a pretty long time. But why do we procrastinate? Wondering why you can't finish that book report? Blame the limbic system, one of the oldest and most dominant portions of our brain. It's also the system that tells you to pull away from an open flame, binge eat candy, or get out of an uncomfortable situation. It's basically the immediate mood repair system, telling you to do things that cause you short-term happiness and not do things that cause you short-term discomfort or unhappiness. Counteracting this is our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that allows us to use logic and differentiates us from animals that only act upon stimulus. However, this system is a lot newer and less developed, and so it takes a lot for the prefrontal cortex to overpower the limbic system, which is a fancy way of saying doing things you don't want to do is hard. Now, since procrastination has been around for so long, one would think the numbers of procrastinators are pretty much the same. But actually, the number seems to be rising in recent years. A 2011 study by the University of Chicago found that currently 26% of people identify as procrastinators, up 400% in the last 30 years. These numbers actually seem to peak at the college-age students, with 90% of students suffering from things known to be associated with procrastination. But if this is a natural human response, why have the numbers risen all of a sudden? Again, it would be easy to assume that it's because of our constantly increasing digital world. But the fact of the matter is, procrastination hasn't changed. Our perception of it has. People didn't used to view relaxation in a negative light, but our increasingly competitive world is constantly putting emphasis on rising to the top. Being successful means getting better jobs, getting into better grad school or college programs, making more money, and being seen as more successful by your peers. But you don't build your resume by being idle, and this focus on constant work towards your goals is putting a really negative impact on humans. Because humans need breaks in order to function properly. So now people are associating their lack of constant work with the negatively connotated procrastination, rather than just a natural and necessary break in their day. However, procrastination actually has some benefits if we use it in small doses. The same University of Chicago study found that small breaks throughout your day actually heavily increase productivity and focus when you do actually go back to work. See, our brain works hard to ignore constant information like background noise, so it can focus more energy into finding new and different information that could potentially pose a threat, like the sound of a scream. So when you're staring at the same page in your textbook for too long, your brain is naturally beginning to block this out. The average time it takes for your focus to wane is about 40 minutes, but taking a break to focus on something entirely different, even for a few moments, actually naturally resets this process in our brains, which can help us focus and stay more productive when we do go back to work. A second benefit of procrastination is creativity. A professor at the University of Wisconsin designed an experiment in which she asked two groups of people to come up with new business ideas in 15 minutes. With the first group, she asked them to come up with the ideas right away, but the second group, she asked to play Minesweeper or Solitaire for the first 5 minutes. And then she asked independent business professors to rate the ideas on originality. The results? The procrastinators group's ideas were 28% more creative than the non-procrastinators group. Focusing on something else for a while lets our subconscious brain do the contemplating on the problem that we're facing, which can often come up with new and different ways of looking at it, and therefore come up with more creative solutions. But the world isn't suddenly going to change and let us play games and relax all day without repercussions. So how can we reap the rewards of procrastination while still keeping up with today's fast-paced society? Simple. The answer is better procrastination. First, we can be more productive in our procrastination. Instead of going straight to YouTube when taking a break from studying from that big biology test, try doing a smaller assignment from a different class, or cleaning. A Harvard University study found that completing small tasks actually releases dopamine, which allows you to feel happier and more proud of what you've done, which actually allows you to focus more on what you're doing when you do go back to studying the functions of a cell. Second, we can plan for our procrastination in advance. Try building a study schedule in which you include procrastination among the other items on your to-do list. This limits your amount of time that you need to focus and can help you get back to your actual productive work. The average amount of time it generally takes to reset your brain is about 10 minutes, but be flexible at first. Some people need 5-minute breaks between each task they complete, while others need 30-minute breaks between every 3 tasks. Either way, learning how you can work best now can help you milk your work ethic when it comes time for finals. Finally, we can change our mentality about procrastination. Author Wade Goodall once wrote, "The best defense against complacency is great offense. We fight through our failures and mistakes by maximizing our forward motion." To Goodall, any motion forward is good motion. It's only when we are at a standstill that we are not being productive. Just because you don't feel like you're being productive when you're working on an essay instead of studying for that big test tomorrow doesn't mean you should feel unproductive. Like any other tool, procrastination can be extremely beneficial if we can use it correctly. Even though the world is constantly increasing the pressure to succeed, we can all benefit from taking a break now and again.